Would you like some peas pudding? Peas pudding hot, peas pudding cold, peas pudding in the pot, 9 days old.
I think he likes spoons too. What's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong, Mr. Finger? Do you not like my mouth words?
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Daniel Profeta, the only show on YouTube where we take things at face value because things are always what they seem. If you're new here, we are the purveyors of the macabre and grotesque corners of the Internet. And though the legion from whence my power comes is modest, we grow stronger every passing day. I've been wanting to cover this comically demented series for quite a while now, but since a new episode just released, I decided that I couldn't wait any longer and we had to get this done immediately. And this episode is perfect because I think it's one of, if not the most disturbing episodes in the entire series, which is saying a lot. I remember being shown these as a kid, and insanely, it's been 19 years since the first episode, and the show is still scaring us right out of our pants. See, here I could have made a sex joke or just continued the Jack Skellington reference, but since I am dead, I can take off my head to recite Shakespearean quotations. No animal nor man can scream like I can with the fury of my recitations. When I initially watched the new episode, I actually wasn't impressed until like the very end, mainly because the episode to me at first felt less cohesive and more like it was relying heavily on cheap shocks that had little to no plot relevance. However, never let it be said that I can't admit when I am incorrect, because I am incorrect 99% of the time. I have discovered that this episode covers a ton of new ground in terms of world building, callbacks to previous episodes, and overall themes of the show. You know the themes I'm talking about. Trauma and auto-cannibalism. So without further ado, let's dive into the newest nightmare-inducing brain rot concocted by the genius David Firth. The episode begins with Mr. Fingers attempting to grow crops for an upcoming feast that he refers to as the Yearly Grand Feast. And his attempts are literally fruitless. You get it? Because he's growing crops? So fruit as in crops? He's starting to suspect that this year's feast will go very poorly and he will be made the fool of the town. Quick aside, but what is it with Salad Fingers constantly getting worried about what other people are thinking of him? Like, I understand that anxiety, but what other people? I don't see any people. Do you see any people? What other goddamn people is he worried about? The anime girl the IRS is going to send to collect his taxes? He starts calling out with almost religious fervor for the mother of life, builder of his body, to appear before him and let him do lewd things with her for some reason. Yeah, this episode gets weird. We haven't even started yet. He waits for a moment before taking out a worm-ridden and diseased finger puppet named Melvin Wishcake.
Take the carcass of my diminished companion, Melvin Wishcake. A rotten friend, no longer fit for finger.
To sacrifice to the earth and the supposed mother of life.
May his body seed the loins of your womanhood.
As much as I would prefer to never have to think about that sentence again.
May his body seed the loins of your womanhood.
An enormous flower rises out of the earth, which he refers to as grandmother growth. She sticks her tubes in his mouth and reveals her seeds. Kinky. Dozens of eyeballs that, if you look really closely, kind of resemble frog spawn. So to recap really quick, the plant creature with its teat down Salad Finger's throat has eyeball eggs that it's going to impregnate him with. We're not even 2 minutes into the episode yet. He plucks an eye and swallows it. And as he does, the plant suddenly withers away. I think it's important to note that the music here is distorted as the plant fades and vanishes, almost as if it was only an illusion. Salad Fingers then turns to a nearby rock to confirm that it's going to the feast. He's talking to a fucking rock.
I trust you'll be attending the luncheon.
We cut back to Mr. Finger's house, where he now has Hubert Cumberdale on his finger. Long-term fans of the series will know exactly who we're talking about. He also is holding a strange stick or staff in his hand. At first, he talks about higher beings and ascending, words that, to me, are reminiscent of the way, like, cult members will talk about their religion, I guess. But then, as he's scratching his back, he suddenly changes topic. Pay attention to where he was scratching his back with the stick, but first listen to the subject change.
Have you been utilizing the naughty stick again? Well, it smells like you.
The puppet was using the stick as a device from Bad Dragon. Spectacular. Suddenly, a face starts to appear where Salad Fingers was absently scratching his irritated skin, and a small mouth begins to speak out of his back, imploring that the puppet listens to his father, for father knows best. Salad Fingers was watered and fertilized by the tubes of the mother of life. Then the eyeball was the seed that has grown into the talking tumor on his back. The episode deals with the themes of the cycle of life and death and rebirth. And this right here is just the beginning of the madness. We cut to Salad Fingers wandering through the wasteland, and let me pause for a moment to comment on how much I personally love the atmosphere of this series as a whole. The bleak and desolate wasteland plays wonderfully with the lonely and sorrowful music that's almost comforting in its haunting presence. He starts imploring a Lady Etheridge to attend his feast. But as he does, we see that the little growth on his back has turned into a full head now. It pops out and starts spluttering nonsense that sounds like a weak imitation of what Salad himself was saying. Try to keep this in mind as well, and I promise at the end of the video, I will do my best to connect as many of the dots as I can, as I kind of see the episode, like what it's supposed to mean. But for right now, I just want to relay the information as we're being given it so that we can absorb it and we can analyze it later. Okay, that being said, listen to this, because I spontaneously combusted inside the White House after dying laughing.
Attendant. Dear lazy Eskindale, your awful appendix died yesterday. Plarp, plarp, plarp.
Your awful appendix died today? Shit, that sucks. One of my favorite things about Salad Fingers is how incredibly and unashamedly British the character is, in his mannerisms, vocabulary, and accent. And this little guy just took all of that and made it 1,000 times funnier. The little guy's adorable, wouldn't you agree? Just you wait. Mr. Fingers is not as amused by this as you and I probably are, and promptly tells the creature to shut the hell up and stop being an idiot. Potential metaphor for generational tension, or just a comment, I don't know, we'll figure it out later. The creature then slaps him.
Work faster.
What was that weak, watery smack supposed to do? Also, I think we're glossing over the fact that this back tick has hands now. He always had hands, you just didn't notice. I think I would notice a back tick with hands. The point is, instead of speeding up, Mr. Fingers slows down considerably and is just so contrarian. Like me. One night, while our beloved main character is soundly sleeping, his mini-me detaches from his back into a fully formed baby creature. It slithers uncomfortably to the end of the bed, waking up Mr. Fingers in the process. They stare at one another with a sense of familiarity before exchanging greetings. Then the little one says, "You look delicious." Salad Fingers replies, "I am delicious."
I am delicious. Mother says I'm the tastiest boy in the park.
What? This series knows how to perfectly combine humor and creepy lines. It's fantastic. Also, for the record, his mother's definitely going to hell for all of the shit that she's pulled in this show. Least of all this. A small thing that I've always loved about David Firth's work is the audio effects and the slimy sounds that he uses. They're always so crisp, disgusting, perfectly subtle. It's as though he's created a genre of ASMR-oriented horror. I don't know, I just think it's really cool. I know it's not something he invented or anything like that, but this series does that concept really, really, really well and has since its start. So I respect that and applaud it, think it's super interesting, and now we're moving on. Afterwards, we are taken outside to the middle of the desert, where for the first time in a long time, we get some concrete world-building lore. Hell yeah! The one problem with this is that Mr. Fingers has been a consistently unreliable narrator, so it's impossible to know if any of this is fact. Despite this, I'm going to assume that we just take everything at face value and then tell you what the new things that we learn are. This desert is known to Salad Fingers as the Great Dance Floor. No, that's not it. It's the Great Pelvic Floor. Sorry, it's the Great Sand Floor. What a creative name. There are lots of corpses hidden in the sand, which perfectly fits the post-apocalyptic vibe of the whole series, and also could play into all of the theories about it being right after a world war. And also some 20, 100 footsteps towards the great glowing disc in the sky leads you to the end of the world. Lots of lore. Very cool. Throughout this sequence, Mr. Fingers is now teaching the creature that he refers to as Mr. Boy Fingers about the world that he resides in. He's preparing him. Or maybe he's just preparing himself. He certainly won't be preparing this paltry selection of vegetables. And his child suddenly says that he can see Lady Etheridge. Remember her? Or remember that name? More specifically, Salad Fingers responds rather strangely to this confession, and he begins bemoaning his lack of time to teach the rapidly growing child his trade. And what trade, you might ask? By all means, please ask, because I have no idea what the fuck this guy does for a living. Again, just be patient, and I will tell you what I think all of this means. Not that my thoughts will be useful to you or anybody on planet Earth, anywhere, at any time at all, but I will still relay them. Do you remember the Rock from before? Well, his name is Bartholomew, and he wants to come inside and warm his bones beside the fire. They bring him in, but only after the child has made some strange comments about having observed Salad Fingers for decades. Up until this point, nothing that has happened really shocked me or shook me all that much. But now comes the grand finale, the climax, the orgasm, if you will. Just kidding.
Just kidding, I see nothing. God damn it, I can't see a thing.
As Salad Fingers tells his puppets to be on their very best behavior around Mr. Boy Fingers, since he's a part of the family now, the child takes this opportunity to bash Salad Fingers' brain in with a rock. The poor man, bleeding out on the floor, thanks Bartholomew for the honor of being beaten to death by him, and fades from consciousness. When he awakens, he is boiling in a pot of soup. Brings a whole new meaning to me stew, am I right? His body has already started decomposing, but he is lucid, if not somewhat subdued. His child is stirring the pot, and as he does, Salad Fingers takes his finger, sticks it in his mouth, and eats the tip, his skin and flesh cleanly sliding off, leaving only bone behind. His child chastises him for tasting the feast before it's ready, then just keeps methodically stirring. Son, let me tell you something about stirring. If you take that stick and you move it around and you stir it around, you get yourself into a rhythm. It's a beautiful thing. And now we come to the saddest bit of the episode, at least to me. Our protagonist, if you could even call him that, is at the end. But subtly, he attempts to find a mode of escape or some way to stall his inevitable demise. He tells the cook he needs to attend some errands around the house, to further along the feast preparation. But it's no use. as Mr. Boyfingers tells him that everything has already been taken care of. Salad Fingers apologizes and slips further into stupor. He slowly sinks deeper into the stew, and then this happens. Aside from being weirdly the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, I see this as further confirmation of some of the most widely accepted theories about the Salad Fingers universe. That idea that Mr. Fingers is a war veteran of some kind, living in this fucked up post-apocalyptic world that's either a distortion of reality kind of fabricated by his own brain, or, a real world situation. And with that, the last spark of hope is snuffed out. And we get treated to some lovely grotesque imagery of the cooked creature. And then the now fully grown clone begins devouring what is essentially himself. He tells the rock to settle down. This leads me to believe that he might be afflicted by guilt of some kind and can hear strange things coming from the rock that maybe we cannot. The camera slowly pulls back as the new Salad Fingers devours the corpse of the one whose place he's just usurped. And so ends one of the most disturbing episodes of Salad Fingers, and I think that is saying an awful lot. While this is not the first time the series has shown us other creatures very similar to our main protagonist, nor is it even the first time we've been introduced to the concept of them somehow being clones or projections of his own subconscious, this is the first time it was framed as offspring, or the death of a past self in service to a higher new self. Depending on how you interpret the child, the conclusions that you draw from this episode may vary wildly, which is one of my favorite things about David Firth's work. It's not overly open-ended when you look closely, but if you pass the events of any given episode through different lens of symbolism, you can find new meaning to the projects, and I don't know, I think that's super cool. Anyways, if the kid is real and is tangible offspring of Mr. Fingers himself, then to me the episode is about generational trauma, healing it and propagating it both in equal measure. It's a sacrifice made at the altar of the future. You reap exactly what you sow, and you're probably going to be getting more than what you bargained for. If this is true, then the original Salad Fingers has been dead for a long, long time, as this cycle has probably repeated itself many times over, even throughout the series as we've seen it, and probably before, and will continue long after. However, I, personally, believe that the meaning of the child is more metaphorical than it is necessarily literal. Salad Fingers survives by cannibalizing himself. He's killing off his old self to be reborn as a newer, stronger entity. Lady Etheridge seems to me to be a stand-in for death. Boyfingers says that he can see her on the horizon, and that causes Salad Fingers to have this reflection moment where he's like, oh shit, I don't have enough time to teach you everything that I want to teach you. And it's wistful, and it's sad, and it's mournful, really. He understands what is coming. He knows his doom is nigh.
I feel my day of reckoning may be approaching.
He says, how am I supposed to teach you about the world that we live in and about my trade in such limited moments that we share together? He's building up this child to be the perfect offspring to replace him when he's perished. He doesn't put up a fight when he's being consumed alive, and he even says it's all in your hands now. Salad Fingers is someone who loses everything and descends into psychosis, alone in a mental prison of his own making. This is true regardless of whether the world we see is a truthful representation of reality or not. So in the end, we all learned the lesson. And what lesson might that be? The lesson that Salad Fingers' impregnation smut was not all that far off. And that's the newest episode of Salad Fingers. I would love to analyze or just talk about the whole show, but so many people have already done that, so I'm not sure, if anyone cares much about my opinions on the show, especially since a lot of my opinions probably mirror ones that you've heard before, but I could put my own comedic spin on it. I don't know. If this video gets to 7,000 likes, I'll make another video about salad fingers. Every like on this video equals 1 time that I lick this rock. Sound reasonable? I'll see you soon. Stay safe, stay sane. We are Legion. Now fuck off and go watch another video of mine.
Hey little boy, what you got there? Kind sir, it's a mollusk I found. Did you find it in the sandy ground? Does it emulate the ocean sound? Yes, I found it in the ground, emulating the ocean sound. Bring forth the mollusk, cast unto me. Let's be forever, let forever be free.